Hello, and welcome to Amplify with Purpose, where we dive into the heart of personal and business growth, exploring the transformative power of aligning purpose, passion, and practical strategies. I'm your host, Odette, and today we are embarking on a special journey to unveil the synergy between personal growth and business triumph. I am, as usual, very pleased to welcome our regular guest back to the show, Christo Pretorius, who is a renowned figure in the field of business and personal development. Christo's journey serves as a testament and a testimony to the significant influence, self awareness, resilience, and perpetual learning in attaining professional success and personal satisfaction has. Christo, welcome back and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, did that. That was a mouthful. I appreciate the introduction. Thank you. I'm always amazed by how well you introduce your guests, but thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And it's always great to be here. And today's subject, definitely close to my heart, personal development. I believe it's absolutely key in everybody's life. So looking forward to delving into some truths today.
Christo, could you share with us a pivotal moment in your personal development journey that significantly impacted your business success?
Yeah, thanks, Odette. 2016, I went to do the John Maxwell Leadership and Coaching Certification Program. And so we made the decision, my wife and myself, actually on our wedding night. We were actually on our honeymoon. We were sitting down and we were writing down some goals for our life. And that was one of the goals we wrote down, that I wanted to go and do that certification program. So a couple of years later, we had the opportunity to go. And the reason for me doing that is I wanted to start a leadership and coaching business back here in South Africa, obviously using the content of John Maxwell. But when I arrived there, and there was, I think, 5 or 6,000 other delegates that were there, to my surprise, most of the people, a lot of the people that I met, some of them were students, some of them were just like home executives. And I was asking them, why are you here today? And they're like, no, we just want to grow more in our personal development. I think that was really like the first time somebody like put that in one phrase, personal development. And I then realized that a lot of these people that are here today are not here to start a business, but they are here to develop themselves personally. And I realized on that trip in Florida, United States, that personal development is more than just doing a course to achieve something, but personal development is how you grow yourself, and out of what you have learned and how you have grown yourself, that then flows into every other aspect and facet of your life. And there and then I realized that, all right, to have a successful business is not so much just about the courses that you do, but it's about the development in yourself that takes place. So that was definitely for me one of the big ones that stood out.
I like what you said. My husband will always say, you can't pour from an empty cup. And I
Yeah.
think it's very true, whether it's business or personal life, the more we grow, the more we have to give. And quite often we speak to people and you can tell when someone's been working on their personal development or when someone's been just working on growing as an individual because they choose to, not because the job requires it. The
Yeah.
conversations are just so much more richer. It's just such a lovely experience being around someone who's got a growth mindset and who wants to grow and become their full potential, because I think ultimately that's what it's about. It's about tapping into your full potential, whatever that looks like.
Yeah, definitely. And many people think that potential is something that you're just going to step into, just going to happen. One day, I'm going to become all that I was destined to be. But it doesn't work like that. You have to be intentional about
Mm.
that. And you got to try different things. That's maybe a second thing that I've realized is that, yes, you have to. I'm a big believer in stay in your lane, stay in your grace, do that thing that you are great at doing. But in doing that, you'll start stepping into different areas and you start testing the water. And lo and behold, it might be a new industry that might open up for you. It might be a new area of development that takes place. I definitely think that it's important for us, like you said. And it's wonderful when you sit with people and you can hear that this person has been developing themselves. They've been growing in certain areas. Their vocabulary has increased in certain areas of scope of industries. And that shows you that they are interested in growing themselves. But it also shows me, it tells me that people value other people. Because when I meet with you, I want to be able to be a part of the conversation. I want to be able to sit there and talk along with everybody else, not just sit there and I've got no idea what's going on within this conversation.
In your experience, what are the key personal qualities or skills that a business leader should cultivate to ensure both growth in themselves and in their business?
I wanted to interrupt you, just shout out self awareness. Yeah, I think first of all, self awareness is massive in that regard. And it's also something that I realized when I was there in Orlando in 2016. You start realizing where you are at, what your level or dimension or skill is in certain aspects. And you then realize, okay, in order for me to talk with these people in the room, I have to up my skill. I have to up my game. And so you gotta be self-aware. You need to know what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses. You need to know what you're good at and what you're not. All of us have something that we're great at, maybe more than one, but we also have some things that we're not good at. And we have to admit that and realize that. So definitely self-awareness I want to put right on top there. It's important because it will then filter through in your company. I believe if you are self-aware or a person that is self-aware, you'll be able to have perspective in the life of other people. You'll have the ability to observe the people around you, where their strengths is, where their weaknesses are, what they have to work on to develop into the person that you need. So definitely self-awareness is going to be key. Having the ability to observe, I'm not sure if it's not the same thing, but I'm not sure if it maybe can be classified in the same lane. But I want to maybe just take it out as a separate point because I don't think people are observant. We're so used to what is wrong in society that we don't even realize it anymore. In South Africa, we drive past the potholes or in the potholes. We drive past non-maintained sidewalks. We drive past lamp poles that is no longer working. But after 3, 4, 5 years of doing that, you become unaware and you just drive and you go and you become mundane in that. But that is a spill of effect where I also see that within people's lives now is that they don't they don't see when things are out of place because we are so focused, not focused, we're just going in this maze down road, downstream, that we don't see the things that are around us. To observe simply means to look intently. It means to look with the expectation to see something different.
Mm.
And I think if we can cultivate that within our lives, then I'm going to look intently into my own life. What areas do I need to develop? Or what areas are underdeveloped? What areas do I need to step into? So yeah, maybe just those two things for now, I believe are skills and qualities that needs to be honest. Some people have it as a quality, so it's just there in their life, but they may be born with it naturally or their upbringing has set them apart from other people. But it's definitely both things are a skill, I believe, that you can also work on, develop, that can then later become a quality.
Absolutely. I think it's also important to point out that when we have an awareness and the ability to observe our environment, we also become aware of what's necessary in the team. So I
Yeah.
am a firm believer that we need to lead by examples. Leaders lead from the front. Otherwise, what are you? And the reality is, if you're not willing to take the time to identify the things that are holding you back, how can you expect your team to do the same?
Yep.
Because the truth is, development is hard. It's not an easy thing
Mm.
to choose to grow in a specific area or to say, I have a character flaw that I want to work on, or to sit with a mentor who's going to say, "Hey, Odette, have you noticed this particular little area that's perhaps not too great? We need to work on that, get rid of it, cut it off, change it, tweak it, whatever." That's
Yep.
not an easy thing. And it's not fun either, because I've been in mentoring sessions where I've cried. And I'm like, this is horrible. But it's in those moments that you grow. And
Yeah.
when you're able to do that, you create a space and give your team permission to do the same. Giving that permission to your team allows your business to become excellent. I am a firm believer that mediocre is for other people. It's not for us.
Yes.
Other people can be mediocre by all means. That's your thing. You do you, boo. For me, it's important that we drive excellence in whatever area it is we do. If you're a mother, you need to be driving to be an excellent mother. So,
Yeah.
what does that mean? It means you raise kids who positively contribute to society, that are self aware, that don't burst out and lash out at people because life's not going their way. They look for solutions to problems as opposed to just highlighting the problems. If you're a business owner and you sell shoes, for example, how do you create the best quality shoes given your budget, given the environment that you operate in? And if those shoes perhaps are not the best quality, then be clear about that and say, these are shoes for nurses. It's comfortable, but they do wear out because the material is just made of the nature that it does wear out, whatever
Yeah.
that looks like. But you can't do that if you as an individual choose mediocre. If you choose
Yeah.
meh, you can't ask your team to be awesome. How can they?
Definitely. You were speaking about the team, and I think it's so crucial within your business. So I want to ask you this from your perspective, Odette. How does investing in personal development influence the culture or even team setting or the team dynamic and the success within business?
In my experience, where people were valued enough to be developed, those people stayed regardless of the circumstances. And I
Okay.
say that because I've been in environments where it was tumultuous, where there was short time, it was just a crazy place to be. But because the organization cared about the people and their personal growth, those people chose to stay with the organization. I often talk about first connect with the heart before you try and influence the mind. And it's exactly the same thing. If it's important to your team, it should be important to you. Now, that's not to say that if you're an accountant and your team wants to go study decor design, that you need to pay for it. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is taking the time to understand what it is they want to grow in, what are their career aspirations, and then looking for a way to align it with your goals and your organization. And if there isn't a way, then at the very least, supporting them in whatever they choose to do. Sometimes people will then decide, because I've got other aspirations, I will leave the organization. And then you shouldn't be upset because they've left. You should celebrate the fact that you've enabled
Mm.
someone to make a very big decision and to go and live out their full potential. If you are able to match their potential with your business goals, you will have a loyal employee who is going to drive your business growth as hard as you would because they know that you care about them. Because let's be honest, none of us want to know that we're just numbers, and none of us want to feel like we're a bum in seat. I had my bum in seat years. It was terrible. I didn't enjoy it. And I'm no longer there. I wonder why.
Whose responsibility then would you say is it to, let's say, initiate personal growth? Is it whose responsibility? Where does the responsibility lies within an
I think it's
organization?
I think it's dual responsibility. I think it's a matter of having a culture in the organization. First and foremost, you can't enforce training and development on your team if you're not willing to do it. So
Yeah.
there is a part of it. It's like a chicken and egg situation. It does start with you and with the culture. So when you employ someone, you one of the organizations that I did a review for late 2020, I think, didn't have anything in place. And they wanted to create a culture where people actually did choose to grow and not just stagnate. The challenge is that if you don't have anything in place, when someone joins your organization, the question is where to from here? Because yes, I've now joined you in this capacity, but my question as an employee would be, what is my opportunity for growth? What does that look like? So that I can determine whether or not I want to be here for the short term and collect my paycheck until I find something better, or if I want to really hook arms with you as an organization and push this into the future. So it's a dual responsibility in that you've got to create the culture, and behind the culture sits that ugly word, structure and systems. Because when you've got the structure and the systems that sits behind it, it's easy to create the culture. Then you have to make sure that you employ people who know that in this organization, we want to be the best at what we do, whether it's making tea or building a brand new IT system. And we want people who are continuously growing. If you've been alive for a minute, you'll know that things are always changing. Just look at the rate of change that we're going through now. Now, if you thought that the skills you had when you left university 10 years ago is going to be enough to bring you into the next 20 years, I'm sorry, but you're poorly mistaken. So it's a dual responsibility. To grow as an individual, you need to know that's your responsibility. I can't make you grow if you don't want to grow. But
Yeah.
as a leader, you have to create an environment and a structure that allows that to happen.
Okay. So you mentioned the fact that somebody comes into organization and there might not be a clear path as to what development might be. You spoke about maybe structure that might not be in place. What other barriers do you see within businesses that maybe hinders people growing in these areas? And what do you recommend people do or put in place to overcome those barriers?
I think from a leader's perspective, you have to recognize that potentially your team will be smarter than you, and that should be okay. Steve Jobs said it really well, and I forget his exact words, but it boils down to you don't employ people dumber than you employ people smarter than you so that they can grow your business.
Yeah.
That's the reality. So when you have those smart people, you don't tell them what to do. You create an environment where they can flourish. And because they flourish in what they do, they grow your business. And I think quite often leaders have a bit of an ego about it. I need to be the smartest person in the room. That's a sad day if you're the smartest person in the room, because who do you learn from? I never want to get to the point where I'm the smartest person in the room, because that would suck. I'm not that smart anyway. So, no, thank you. I want to be
That's
around people. I want to be around people who sharpen me, who push me to do better, who make me go, oh, I didn't know that. How do I learn that? That's the environment that I want to be around. And I recognize that not everyone wants that, and that's okay. But certainly, if you're on this podcast, you want to learn and you want to grow and you want to be better. And that's one of the things I would recommend. The second is creating space. Large organizations do it quite poorly. Yes, corporates, I'm taking a dig at you, because they will always have a structured plan of learning things that you've got to do. So there's this uh, attestation, and there's this training, and there's this thing and this thing. That's fantastic. All of these things take time. And then they don't create space for the employees. And then once a year, they send out a beautiful email that says, you have not done your attestations or your training for the year. You better get it done. Otherwise, we will lock you out of your PC or not pay you or whatever. It's probably not that drastic, but there's always some threat that sits behind it. But you didn't create a space for them to do that, which is then unfair. How do you ask someone to do something and then not create the environment or the space or allow the time for them to do that? And their development benefits your business. So you should make time in your business on your watch for them to grow.
Yeah.
I think those are probably the biggest things.
Okay.
And like I said in the beginning, if you don't know where you want these people to go, you're losing already. You
Yeah.
need to have a plan. You said you sat down on your honeymoon and did your goals. They're cool. Hey, not sure that's what the honeymoon's for, but hey, who am I to judge? And B, you wrote
I
them,
didn't what I wrote down on the goal sheet. I didn't share one with you.
but it is. It's really cool because you took ownership of what you wanted to do, even outside of your work environment. And you later went on and you did create a business, which is doing really well. And in my opinion, at the very least, you're an amazing leader and a people leader. You're a leader of leaders because you equip leaders and you grow leaders. So it's not just a title, it's in your behavior, it's in your fruit. And I think that's powerful. So if you want to grow, write down your goals.
Yeah, definitely. Speaking about that roadmap, you have to be intentional about it. Ab- listen, growth takes place organically. There's some growth that takes place organically, absolutely. There's some vegetables. I've got a vegetable garden here in my backyard, and some of the vegetables that are there are planted on purpose. Some of them, there's a tomato plant that just came out. I didn't plant it. I didn't prepare the soil. I don't know, maybe we threw out some scraps and it came up. So yeah,
Mm.
there's some organic growth that takes place, but you can't farm with that method. You're not going to become a great farmer. So there are things, if you surround yourself with great people, then you're going to learn from them. The Bible says iron sharpens iron, so the countenance of one sharpens another. So you're definitely going to grow by just being in the room with other people. Absolutely. But that growth will always be predicated on what those people are focusing on and not where you want to per se go. So I do believe having a roadmap and setting out goals for yourself is important. You need to measure it. Yeah, I remember when I was a kid many years ago, I had on my dad's desktop, like I think it was a Pentium, that was a 486, 486 computer. There was Excel, and I had all of the games I played, all the cricket games, all the innings, how many runs I scored, how many times I was not out, what was my average. And every single week, as I typed in the data, I could see how my average went up or my average went down. And I had a clear track of where I'm going, what I'm doing. So
Yeah.
you have to set out a pathway. You need to have some form of measuring. How are you going to measure this?
Yes.
Because at the end of the year, if I have two bad games, the last two games, you're going to think, oh, it was a bad year. But if you go back and you look at your sheet, you're going to realize, listen, it was actually a great year. Personally, I really did. Yes, maybe the team, we didn't win the league. There's a lot of good that I can take from what I've achieved. And the same in your own life, not your life, but yes, your life as well. But in the people that are listening, in your life, everybody has these New Year's resolutions. And by the end of the year, where are they? But if you at least have some form of a track, what you can look back and say, you know what? February 2022 was actually a good year. March 2016 was actually not that bad. And so at least there's these pockets of like things has been going on and I can just continue on that track. So definitely mapping out your goal is definitely. I had the opportunity on Saturday to be at an event where Visi Tibukwaya was speaking. So much wisdom, so much value. But just from what I've observed and leaving there, yes, the big takeaway is that success leaves clues. And what he has achieved in his life didn't just happen. He was strategic about it. And even where he's going, he's strategic about it. And I think a lot of business people, and I don't just want to say new business owners or small business owners, I think there's even corporates that have been running for many years, haven't achieved what they wanted to achieve,
Mm.
clearly because they don't have a clear cut out plan.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how boring it looks, boring works.
With the
Boring
yes.
works. Just work the plan. Some president, I think from the United States said that, or maybe it wasn't even a president, but a genius without or an idiot with a plan will beat a genius without a plan every day of the week.
I have a personal, little bit of an embarrassing story. It took me 10 years to finish my degree. The reason it took me 10 years to finish my degree is the first time I started, I put a plan together. So I did have a plan. I practice what I preach, but I didn't follow it per se. And even though the measures were there, I didn't hold myself accountable, which is probably another point we need to add in there.
Yeah.
Then I've had kids, and every time I was supposed to write an exam, I was pregnant. It was terrible. And then after my second child, I looked at it, and my husband at the time was then also so still have the same husband. I realized that this didn't sound right. So the records state that I still have the same husband, but at the
Your
time
husband,
he was
come on, at the time.
correct. At the time he was studying, and I looked at it and I was like, there is no ways that I start my degree before him and he finishes before me. How in the world is that even possible? He did, by the way, finish before me. Congratulations. That's fantastic for you. It just created a bit of fuel for me. And I decided, you know what, you have to finish this thing. You can't be that person that starts this and never finishes it. And that also talks about resilience because 10 years
Yeah.
later,
Yeah.
I did finish my
Well done.
correspondence degree
Well
because I
done.
didn't go to uni. I did it part time while I was working, while I was raising kids. So for those of you wondering if it's possible, it is 100% possible. It is 100% doable if you've got the right people around you who will push you to do it and who will support you in those things. You can absolutely do it. But for me, what was missing was accountability because I was the only one kind of going, I want to do this thing. And I never pushed myself. I didn't hold myself accountable, nor did I have people around me to say, Odette, come on now. Really? 10 years? So if you can find a tribe, maybe join our tribe, a bunch of people who will push you to do these things and also hold yourself accountable and work the plan. Christo said
Yeah.
it. The plan is boring, but it works. So work the plan for sure. Christo, what are some of the challenges that you faced that's given you some valuable lessons that are applicable to the business world in terms of personal growth and business development?
Yeah, I think it's what you said. Life happens. I think it was Mike Tyson that said everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. And it's not saying you shouldn't have a plan, but what do you do? What do you do
When you get
when
punched in the
certain
face.
plans? I said this many years ago. I said, I want to take back my life. And I started doing that. And it was not taking back my life from anybody or any organization, but just simply taking back my life from life itself, because I realized life happens. So we have all these goals, all these dreams, all these aspirations, and then things happen in life. There's a portion in the Bible where the Apostle Paul writes, and he says, run the race that is set before you with patience and endurance. And I think that is so key, is to realize what is the race that you need to run. So what's that plan? And then what's the duration of that race that you are running? But when should you finish? And where are you now? And so the biggest challenges for me and obstacles and things that I've learned lessons is that when life throws things at you, then you just need to adjust. You need to adapt. You need to adjust, and you move forward. If I had many things in my life that happened, um, that helped me and built me. I remember a couple of years ago, we had to seriously readjust some things in our marriage. Me and my wife spoke about some things. I didn't place her first. I didn't make her the priority that she was supposed to be in my life. And that comes with other consequences where if one area of your life is off balance, it's probably true that other areas in your life is off balance. And here I was going and being there for everybody else. But when my wife needed me, I couldn't be there, or I wasn't there because everybody else had to be rescued or saved. And that was a big thing for me. And I see that in business is that although you have these clients that are very important and you have special clients or you have high value clients, at the end of the day, no client is above my family. No client is more important than integrity within my business. No client is more important than doing the right thing. And so what I've learned from that time in our lives where we just had to realign the priority of our marriage and evaluate things in that area, I've realized in business it's the same thing. Because how many people are married to their business? How many people are married to their goals? How many people are married to outcomes? How many people are married to status? When
Mm,
for me, that was a very big lesson to realize where the priority should be. And you always keep the priority. Um,
yes.
Pastor Rob Thompson, a pastor from America, he's got 5 requirements of friendship. And one of his requirements is the following. He says, my friends must place integrity above relationship. And I think that is so powerful, is that here's an individual that holds his friends to a higher standard than pleasing me, but do the right thing whenever it's
Mm,
necessary. And so, yes, a lot of things through life have taught me. Probably the biggest one was that is probably, let's call it the principle of priority. And in that time, my mom-in-law, she said something so powerful. I never forget it. She said, things don't go wrong. Things start wrong.
yeah.
Things don't go wrong. Things start wrong. We always look at problems or we look at disasters and we're like, what went wrong? No, nothing went wrong. And because it started wrong, we just had to wait for time to play out. And so that's why it's important to have that plan. That's why it's important to have some of those qualities that we spoke about, having the ability to observe, having the ability to be self-aware, accountability. That is so key. Absolutely. If you want to grow in personal development, if you want to grow in business, if you want to grow in life, accountability, you need somebody that can hold you accountable. Somebody that can look you in the face and say, listen, you said you're going to do this. You need to do this. So, those are a couple of things from my personal experience.
I love that you highlighted a very important point for me. And it's something that I learned with my first child. The midwife at the time when I went for my prenatal classes, I'll never forget it. I had porridge brain like nobody's business, but the one thing she said stuck, and it was, when mama's okay, baby's okay. And that for me translated into pretty much everything that I do. I shifted from being married to my job at the time. I used to be at work at 6 in the morning and I'd finish 6 in the evening and then still drive home and whatever. And I realized that if I was to continue on that trend, I would pretty soon not have a family to go home to. So I had to make some tough decisions. And the same is true for my business. In my business, I have firm boundaries. Dr. Henry Cloud wrote a book about boundaries. And for those of you who struggle with boundaries, I would absolutely recommend that you grab the book and study it, because boundaries and the word no, Pastor Lillian van der Westhuizen
Mm.
always used to say, no is the blessed word, because it sets the scene. It creates an understanding of what you can expect and what I'm willing to do. And if we can just learn to say no to the right things, then suddenly everything falls into place. Your mother in law is a very wise lady. And
Yeah.
it's correct. If you think about all the air crash investigations and all the stuff that's gone wrong in the world, it didn't go wrong. It started wrong. Someone didn't do their job or they just didn't feel it on that day. And I 100% agree with that. If we can just keep the important thing important, stop running after the urgent. I often tell
Yeah.
my clients that you've got to let Rome burn so that you can address the important things. Because Rome's going to burn whether you run to it or not. Fix the important thing, and then Rome will stop burning because you've addressed the things that caused Rome burning in the first place. Christo, as we close, what are your key takeaways from today? If you could give our audience one thing that they should take away, what would it be?
But you said it earlier, lead by example. It it sounds easier than done, but it's so key. We normally say it's done at the top. You as the leader need to set that example. You have to lead by example. I think it's possible in today's day and age to run a successful company, depending on how you define success. And you expect of people and you yourself don't do it, because just hire a good team that will take care of people's personal development and they can do it, and you yourself maybe don't focus on that. But I want to encourage you as a leader, just that point of integrity is to be a person of integrity towards the people that you lead. I would encourage you lead by example. You should set goals for yourself that are stretching yourself more than you expect your team to do that, or before you expect your team to do. So go there first and then expect them to follow. So definitely my takeaway would be lead by example.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us today, to our listeners and our viewers. If you enjoyed this topic, remember to subscribe for more insightful conversations. If you want to dive deeper into this conversation, or brand and marketing and personal branding and business branding and digital marketing and all the new stuff that's happening with Facebook being off yesterday and Twitter being off yesterday and all the other stuff that you don't know about, what you know you should know about. And then, of course, customer experience. Then I want to invite you personally to our Business with Altitude Summit on the 18th to the 20th of September. There is a beautiful kicker at the bottom of the video. Early bird tickets sale ends on the 29th of April. So make sure you grab your ticket. We, Christo, will be sharing on leadership, on personal development, business growth. He's an expander. He expands businesses, he expands people. And I assure you, once you've sat in his session, you will be expanded. So go over to the Business with Altitude Summit webpage, grab your tickets, join the event. It is a virtual event, so none of you have an excuse that you can't make it. Remember, stay tuned for enriching conversations in Amplify with Purpose.